Here's what's actually happening at Starbucks and why it matters for the country you live in. The company that sold you a $6 latte and told you it was an act of virtue signaling is now closing stores and cutting jobs. It's not a rumor. It's straight from Starbucks' own leadership. The new CEO, Brian Nichols, says they'll shut underperforming locations across North America, eliminate roughly 900 non-retail roles, and freeze many open positions. They're calling it a turnaround. You can call it what it is, a retreat. According to multiple outlets, the restructuring is big, on the order of $1 billion. Store count will dip by about 1% this fiscal year as the company prunes weak shops even after opening aggressively earlier in the year. It's a cleanup operation, the corporate equivalent of closing the drapes and pretending nothing's changed while the furniture gets hauled out the back. Investors were told this is about refocusing on what works, but the subtext is obvious. What's been happening inside the stores hasn't been working for a while. Why now? Because the customer finally walked. Starbucks has reported quarter after quarter of weaker traffic in the US, and traffic is the only thing that really matters in retail. In late July, Starbucks disclosed that global same-store sales fell 2% in Q3, driven by a 2% decline in transactions. North America was down 2% with a 3% drop in transactions. Translation: fewer people are coming in. You can goose the receipt a bit, but you can't fake a shrinking line. There's a simple principle in business. If you make your product worse and your experience worse while telling customers they're the problem, eventually they believe you and go somewhere else. Starbucks' answer has been a nostalgia tour. Bring back the condiment bars. Bring back free refills. Put names on cups with Sharpies like it's 2014 and unveil a brand new coffeehouse code of conduct. It's an attempt to rebuild the vibe, the old cafe where you linger, not the chaotic pickup depot you brace for. That's what they're selling now. Vibes and velocity. For minute ticket times, better staffing at rush, a promise of less chaos. Will that fix it? Maybe. But notice what they're not saying. We were wrong. There's a bigger cultural story here that corporate PR won't touch. Starbucks has become the national theater of moral performance. You weren't just buying coffee, you were buying righteousness, fair trade slogans, seasonal causes, carefully curated corporate statements about things far from coffee. That worked when the economy was fake free money and feelings. But in a world of stick inflation where people have real bills, a $6 sermon in a paper cup stops being charming. Companies that lectured you are now discovering a radical truth. Customers prefer hot coffee to hot takes. And politics did creep in. No matter how many careful memos were written, in late 2023 and into 2024, the brand got pulled into a larger cultural firestorm with dueling claims, internal fights over messaging, and waves of social media calls to boycott. You don't have to weigh in on a global affairs to see how that's bad for a coffee company. When your morning routine becomes a proxy war, people pick a different routine. Starbucks itself acknowledged misrepresentation about its stance were hitting US sales. That's corporate speak for the culture war spilled into the cafe. Meanwhile, the labor fight didn't go away. It metastasized. Hundreds of US stores voted to unionize since 2021. A remarkable insurgency for a brand that once symbolized progressive workplaces. The legal trench warfare is still raging. Just this week, an administrative law judge found Starbucks unlawfully fired 4 employees for union activity in Madison, Wisconsin. Elsewhere, federal appeals court has tossed an NLRB ruling on different facts, reminding everyone that the law is complex and the outcomes are mixed. But the headlines the public sees are simple: Starbucks versus its own baristas. That's not a recipe for cozy third places and smiling faces. The company says the cuts target underperforming stores, locations that can't create the physical environment customers expect or that don't have a clear path to profitability. You know what it usually means? Higher crime corridors, hostile street conditions, or lease math that no longer pencils. It's impolite to say this is out loud, but retailers have been saying it with their feet for years. When city leaders make doing business miserable, businesses quietly stop doing it. Starbucks is now drawing the map with red ink. You can learn a lot from what they're keeping. Starbucks plans to renovate over 1,000 stores with a warmer, linger longer design. They're chasing dwell time, not just throughput, because the entire moat of Starbucks used to be the room, the music, the ritual, the feeling that you weren't in a strip mall kiosk, but in a small slice of cosmopolitan life. They're trying to buy that feeling back with CapEx. It might help, but it's expensive medicine for a self-inflicted wound. And there's the China problem no one wants to mention in the same breath. Starbucks has been hunting for strategic options in its China business as competition intensifies and demand wobbles. When the global growth engine sputters, the home market has to carry the load. That's fine if the home market is healthy. But if your US company traffic is negative, your baristas are on picket lines, and your brand is being used as a political Rorschach test, you don't have to growth strategy. You have a balancing act. Let's be honest about the product. Starbucks built a machine to sell dessert in a cup at breakfast prices and pretend it was coffee. It's not a moral judgment. It was genius business. But when inflation sticks and wages flatten in real terms, people cut the candy first. They brew at home. They go to the neighborhood shop that charges $3 and knows their name without writing it on the cup. There are 41,000 coffee shops on earth now wearing the siren, but mega chains don't own habit. They rent it. If you make the habit annoying, it moves. So what does a real turnaround look like? First, admit the obvious. Starbucks became too complicated. The menu is a labyrinth. Customization turned baristas into line cooks with frothers. The company says it will simplify recipes and separate mobile pickup from the cafe experience, finally acknowledging that the phone orders hijack the room. Good. But unless the culture changes inside stores and inside headquarters, the fixes are cosmetic. If your store is a staging area for chaos and your corporate voice is a press release about everything except coffee, the customer will still feel it. Second, stop telling people how to live. Sell them something worth the price. If the coffee is great and the room is safe and the line moves, you don't need adjunct faculty a lecture on the wall. People will come back. It is not complicated. Pretending it is complicated keeps a lot of consultants rich, but it doesn't make the cappuccino taste better. Third, fix the relationship with the people who make the drinks. You can litigate labor law forever and it won't brew a single espresso. You don't have to love unions to understand that baristas who aren't at war with management make better cafes. If the brand's public face is a picket sign, the store experience will follow. Management knows this. They are just hoping renovations can paper over it. They can't. Finally, tell the truth about safety and standards in America's cities. Companies won't say it because it invites the mob. But anyone who's been in downtown corridors in the last 5 years knows what changed. Retail needs order. Customers need to feel safe. Staff need to be protected. Pretending otherwise is how you get underperforming stores in formerly prime zip codes. There's a reason this story is bigger than coffee. Starbucks helped invent the modern American third place. Work, home, cafe. If that's dying, it's not just a corporate restructuring. It's a verdict on a decade of cultural priorities. We replaced community with content, hospitality with hashtags, coffee with sugar, and conversation with cues. Now the bill is due. The company insists they are ahead of schedule in the turnaround. Maybe. But look at the scoreboard. 6 straight quarters of negative or flat US comps through mid-2025 by various trade counts. And profit pressure even when headline revenue ticks up. The stock is down on the year. You can hang new light fixtures, but if the traffic is shrinking, the room is just empty, only nicer. Here's the optimistic part, because there is one. America is very good at relearning old truths. People like good coffee in pleasant rooms served by happy humans at a fair price. That's it. Starbucks has the cash and the footprint to deliver that tomorrow morning. If they do, they'll be fine. If they keep chasing abstractions, they won't be. Markets are merciless tutors. So the next time you hear a CEO talk about experience, streamlining, and uplifting, translate it. It means the customer walked, the staff revolted, and the store lost its soul. You can't spreadsheet your way out of that. You have to earn it back one cup at a time. And if Starbucks does earn it back, it'll be because they did something radical in corporate America. They shut up, poured the great coffee, and let the politics at the door. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an update. Your support lets me keep bringing you more content just like this. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.